starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
The electricity here in Columbia, well, has been buzzing loudly all weekend.
Passion of the crowd in Williams-Brice Stadium is second to none.
And the rave breaks out in Columbia.
It is good!
Gamecock fans, welcome home.
See how it goes, but we'll be ready to go.
It's time to root.
Touchdown, Carolina!
It's gone! Touchdown! What a hit! He baked it in! Can you believe it? Gamecocks have won this game!
Here are your hosts, J.C. Sherber.
Oh, watch him celebrate now!
Phil Molinex.
My wife doesn't like hanging around losers.
And Jamie Bradford.
I'm going to tell him, you look like you joined Duck Dynasty.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard and welcome home. Inside the Gamecocks, this show, live from the Sinorama Studios and built by the Barndo Co., the barndominiumco.com, where you can build your dream home for as low as $160 per square foot. You heard that right. It is a dream. If you've never been to that website, please, I'm begging you, if you have any thoughts that you might one day build a house, start to gather them now, because that is where you want to start. I promise you. The barndominiumco.com. They have not been named one of the nation's best builders for no reason at all. They're the best of the best of the best, and they are Gamecock owned and operated. Any sign that you need, they're also the best. That's why Sinorama and Matt Vaughn partner with the University of South Carolina. They are the preferred sign partner of the Gamecocks and us here as well. Make sure you check them out at Sinorama.com, located in West Columbia. JC is getting some things together this morning from a work standpoint, and we're going to try to get him to pop in, but he might have to miss today as well. It's kind of the nature of the beast sometimes. That's part of the reason why we've got a three-man crew around here. So Phil Molinex and myself can take you all the way home to 1 o'clock if we don't get JC. But we will be joined by a couple of mics. Haney is one. Michael Haney, former producer at 107.5 The Game in Columbia, songwriter and singer now in Nashville. He is a huge Gamecock fan. He is also very much still tied into the South Carolina football, baseball, basketball, and athletics side of things, even from Nashville, just like Patrick Davis. And he's going to join us at noon because today his second single was released, Easy. And so we'll get his we'll let Haney tell us about that, but also talk to him about Carolina football. He's a pretty good voice when it comes to the Gamecocks. And then immediately following will be Michael Flint, former wide receiver, as we continue our coverage of preseason. We are 3 weeks away from everybody hitting the road for Charlotte, and that is where the Tar Heels of North Carolina and the Gamecocks of the real Carolina will kick off at 7:30 on ABC Saturday night, September the 2nd. Phil, I cannot wait for that. We'll also, JC, if he misses it, that's fine. We'll get one from him next week. But a couple of bold SEC predictions we'll squeeze into the program today. And if any of you haven't seen it yet, I would highly suggest that you go check out the Untold Johnny Manziel documentary. It's really good. It is really detailed from himself. He tells you the truth about skimming drug tests at Texas A&M and how much money he blew. And I mean, it's pretty wild. So on that, what documentary would you like to see of any athlete that you've ever watched at the University of South Carolina? Is there one athlete, football, baseball, basketball, whatever, that you would say, I would like to see an untold documentary based on this guy or this gal that wore the garnet and black? So chew on that and spill it into the Nana Sports chat box and we will make sure to plug your comments into our programming. With all that said, Mad Dog is fired up and ready to go because it's Friday and he's had a long week. What's up, man?
Oh, doing well, doing well. You're right. Been a long week this week.
Yeah.
But we made it. We made it. So, yeah, looking forward to talking some bold predictions here. I've been trying to pick something that's fairly decent, but
I've got mine. I've had it for a while.
Have you really? Been kicking that one around?
No, I didn't even have to kick it around. The word bold stands out to me. So I said, if someone says be bold, okay, let's do it. I'll be bold. I've got one.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to do with South Carolina, though.
No, yeah. I was trying to avoid South Carolina on a bold prediction because I don't like to, I don't want to get aggregated like that, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna stay with the Homer thing. I'll go bold. I will go bold. I promise you that. We'll get to it here coming up in just a little bit. No shocker here, Phil, by the way. Let's see. I just mentioned this not even a minute ago. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 responses in less than a minute. Keep going. And almost all of them are Steven Garcia.
That's the obvious answer, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think that it is, and I think that Steven would probably one day be open to doing something like that when his children were old enough to handle it. Steven he's a really good dad, and he's really open about who he was and what he did and didn't do and what he should or should not have done. He'll be the first one to tell you. You don't have to listen to idiots like me talk about Steven Garcia's life. He'll tell you before I do. But his main thing in life is being dad, period. And so he doesn't want anything at all to disrupt the lives of Memphis, his son, or his daughter. Now he's got a new daughter. He's got 3 children. So maybe one day we'll get Steven on at some point in time. I'll ask him if he'd do a documentary. Be anxious to hear it.
Yeah, he'd probably be down with it, but I agree with you. It's going to be after the kids are old enough to completely understand it. That's amazing because if you don't know Steven, and Pat DeMarco and I joked about him on Monday here, but if you don't know him, what you do know of him is what you saw and what you heard of him while he was at Carolina. Of course, since then, he's all over social media and things like that. But if you've never actually spent time around him yet, you would be surprised, I guess, is what I'm getting at here, that you're like, man, this cat, he is like cool as duh. Like he is a cool guy, but he's a good man. And I think that's one of the great compliments in life when you can that's a good man right there. He's a good man. He's made some dumbass decisions, but he's a good man. And so yeah, let's see. Nick said Zeb Nolan. That would be a good one. Let's see. It'd be good to get a whole behind the scenes story of that season, and all of the quarterbacks. That whole situation. Just really dig into that.
Yeah, it would. That would. You're talking about like an actual story, not like a documentary.
No, I mean, you can do it like documentary, something like a behind the music kind of thing, where you get the setup, you go through the year, and then you kind of look back on it. Where are they now? Where everybody's landed since then, and what they're doing.
Yeah, it would be. You think back, man, to that season and the quarterback situation, and you wonder how on planet Earth did they win 7 games?
It's a wonder.
I mean, really, seriously, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you really stop and think about it. We had a Dell Wilkes in there. Bobby said Dell Wilkes.
I saw that.
That would probably be pretty. And you know what, Bobby? I guess I wouldn't lean. I wouldn't necessarily. I'm not saying I wouldn't watch one on Steven. It'd be phenomenal, but I would almost go back to the steroid era and find, like a Dell Wilkes, somebody who lived in the thick of that. Maybe even Tannehill, post post that era, the year, because it would encompass the year that basically the whole football team was about to strike because of the coaching staff. You know, they were about to quit. And that's when they basically said, F it. You know, here's what we're going to do. And then they won, 5 of their last 6 games? They were 0-5 to start the season, right? In 1992. So, and they finished 5-6. They went 5-1 down the stretch. Yeah, that'd be something. Will McLean said Wesley Saunders and the whole Whitney Hotel thing. J-Shock goes with Eric Norwood. Whitney, hey, Whitney. She said Steve Tannehill. Of course, it's not hard to find him these days. Got a couple of bars and 5 points.
That's right.
Howard goes with Jeff Grants, 2-time All-American baseball player at 2 different positions and quarterback in 1975, 56 and 20. Yeah, that would Jeff would probably be a pretty good one. But you know how these documentaries go, Phil. They need the juice. You got to have juice to do one. Yep. You know, you got to be able to sit there and go, oh my God. Like, that's got to be your response when you're walking it. Watching it. Yeah, exactly.
You could say Landon Powell, but they've already done that one.
Yeah, that was
that 30 for 30 is already out there.
That was tough. I've said that to Landon before. Watching that, it's hard to get through that.
Yeah,
it's hard to get through that. Kendall with a good one here, Demetrius Summers, and while we're on it, why don't we throw in a Derek Watson? Those would be interesting as well. I'm with you, Demetrius Summers. There's I'll get it all wrong. I just know tidbits of it here and there. Of his story and how Coach Holtz essentially shoved him into a guest house and had somebody literally following him around, looking after him nonstop. I don't want to say a whole lot more than that because I don't want to misrepresent anything that happened. But it was, I mean, I know a lot of the guys that played with me, and man, I'll just leave it there. How about that? I mean, this guy would he just did whatever the hell he wanted to do. 76 went with Sterling. William Dean also said Steve Tannehill. Jan said mine is about juice. Come on, Jan, that's easy. That's too easy. Get out of here.
And Harrison's got, I mean, probably the one that is the most likely to be made here would be Rattler. When it's all said and done, you know, if he flames out in the NFL or has great success in the NFL, I would expect, you know, full documenting coming. You've already gotten little bits and pieces of his reality life, right? But that's, you know, as a child, essentially.
Tommy Chaikin from Jan Bennett. Yes, Sidney Rice. Sidney would be an interesting one as well. Let's see. I missed one or two up here, and I want to make sure that I get them in. JC said the Lattimore documentary would be pretty good. Probably would be pretty good. Yeah. But Marcus, that's, you know, it's still. Have you watched the Johnny Manziel documentary?
I have not. I was going to watch it this weekend. Yeah.
Okay. Like, I don't know if it's a feel good story because, like, my wife watched it and she said I felt really bad for him, and I was like, you did? It's kind of an interesting response, but I don't know that I felt bad for him because he kind of did it to himself. I mean, I know that there was a lot of pressure on Johnny Manziel. But there was, I mean, he's not the only quarterback we've ever seen come through with that much pressure on his shoulders. You know what I mean? Like, right. So I don't know that I felt bad for him. I like Johnny Manziel. I like him. I just like the guy, but I mean, he made some idiotic decisions. I don't know how much. Well, if it did cost him any money, not anymore, because God only knows how much Netflix paid for him to just come out and tell everything he told in that story. Millions of dollars. So I don't know. Lisa,
I mean, I doubt he needs any money after doing that, but
no. Well, I don't think he needed any money before either.
You're probably right.
I mean, he's living on like a ranch in Arizona. He's got like a pretty sweet setup and, you know, pool and the whole 9 yards.
I think the biggest story in that is how directly impactful was just that one guy on one program. When I was hearing Josh Pate talk about this when he was talking about it last night, just like, do you even have the facilities that A&M does right now if it weren't for the money brought in from just Johnny Manziel's season?
Yeah. Well, so I think that's a pretty good I think that's a pretty good question. I think that the timing of it is what changes the impact, because A&M was transitioning into the SEC.
Yeah.
And that kind of brought a brand with them. Not that they didn't have a brand before, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I have a lot of respect for Texas A&M. But they were a big story. They were a big story. And like when he left after 2013, and Kenny Hill transferred in from TCU, the story was that this kid was going to have to fill the shoes of Johnny Manziel. Of course, he did, at least in game 1 versus South Carolina at Williams-Brice Stadium, embarrassing everybody in the Palmetto State on national TV the night they opened the SEC network. But like that I think Phil personally, but it was because they were transitioning into the SEC. And they were basically about to, renovate everything down there, blowing up the stadium and rebuilding it in the whole 9 yards. And it just brought this swagger with the Aggies into the top league in the country. And so, yeah, I do think that even if that wasn't coming, the switch from the Big 12 to the Southeastern Conference, I think that he would have had a major impact on the program. I don't know, though, that without all those other components that he wouldn't have, or that it would have been as big or as large as it ended up being.
Yeah, just the perfect storm.
Yeah, pretty much. Somebody said Connor Shaw. Lisa said Connor Shaw. Marcus said Shane Beamer. That'll be a long time down the road. Y'all, we got to go further back, though. Yeah, I mean, you got to go. Yeah, we got to go back in the think tank here for some of this. And a lot of this is football. What about from the basketball side?
Yeah, I don't know. One on McGuire would be interesting. Just, but player-wise,
I mean, you think about the guys that came from the New York Pipeline in the 70s.
Yeah.
Right? Is there one there that would really stand out? I mean, obviously, yeah, clearly, Alex English is an easy answer there. No disrespect, Bobby. I don't mean that. Jan said Jimmy Foster. JC said I'd also add the rise of Michael Roth in the dynasty. Well, that's true, but yeah. Look. So here's the thing with the Roth story. It's a pretty simple story, honestly. He was brought into South Carolina we don't really know what you're going to do. I know this story very well, but you're probably you can play some first. You can hit a little bit. You can't really pitch at this level, but maybe you can. I don't know. We'll just kind of see where you fit, but you're a good team guy. You're a good player. You can play here. Okay. He didn't really pitch much. He was a situational lefty. And then one of my roommates at the time, Jay Brown, was scheduled to get the start against Clemson in the College World Series. And after Coach Tanner and Coach Calvey sat there and stared at it for hours on hours, they basically walked in the door. Roth and Jay were staying together in Omaha. And they walked in the door and said, hey, they were playing. Well, Jay was trying to sleep. Roth was up wired playing video games. And Coach Tanner looked at Roth and said, Roth. And he didn't even turn around and look at him. He just said, yes, sir. Kept twiddling around on his video game, Xbox or whatever it was. And he said, you're going to get the ball tomorrow. And he said, that sounds good, coach. Literally, that's it. that's what happened. And he got the ball and he went out and the expectation was they're going to try to get him through the lineup once and then go to Jay Brown. Then Jay will tell you the third came along. I guess I'm not going to the pen yet. Fourth came along. Fifth came along. Sixth inning. Seventh inning. Jesus, is this guy ever going to stop getting outs? And a star was born. So there you go. Now we're talking, Stacy. He goes with Ronaldo Balkman, and I'm a Ronaldo Balkman. Man. Yeah, he was fun to watch, wasn't he? He was something. Shouldn't have been a first rounder, but he was fun to watch. Driftwood said, Ron Bass is my friend's dad. You know that's who Sunshine is, based off of Remember the Titans. I do. I know Ronnie Bass well. His daughter, Alex, is a good friend of mine. She married a guy that I grew up with. So we get to see the Basses from time to time, and an outstanding guy. And nobody calls him Sunshine to his face, at least not in our circle. You know.
Go try it one time, JB.
Yeah, nah, it's all good.
No,
well,
I'm good.
The first time she said her dad, this has been years ago. I don't even know how long, maybe 10 to, I don't know, something like that, years ago. The first time that she said her dad was coming, I think we were cooking out over at the Cisco's house, and his daughter is best friends with one of my best friends, Mike Cisco, his wife. And she said, my parents are coming. I said, oh, wow, I've always wanted to meet your father. That's pretty cool. I said, would he care if I call him Sunshine? She was like, hey, sure. I was like, don't think I'm going to do that based on that response.
No.
Yeah. So I, to this day, I haven't, but he's a super guy, and he looks nothing like the guy does in the movie, by the way. I am the late Stone, says Corey Jenkins, high draft pick in baseball, an agent stole money. Junior college guy for football, QB1 for the Gamecocks, then linebacker for the Miami Dolphins. You know what? That would probably be a pretty neat story. But a lot of these stories, again, they get like, there's got to be something like, like something, I mean, Manziel had it all, drugs and money and cheating. And I mean, the guy admitted, like, can the NCAA even come back and do anything about that? Like, it would be a sham if they did.
Oh, wow.
But in the documentary, he literally wide openly admitted to breaking the rules the whole final year there. They were just signing autographs and selling them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
not against the law, just against the rules.
Yeah. And that's what it's what his partner in the documentary said, Phil. He was like, we weren't breaking any laws. We weren't following the rules. And we thought that they needed to not be the rules. Well, it's not the way it works. But, I mean, the guy he had the fourth string quarterback on the team peeing in a cup for him. I mean, it was pretty wild stuff. So really good responses here.
Yeah. Never watched a minute of game film.
Never watched, well, not in the NFL.
In the NFL, yeah. Never watched a minute of game film in the NFL.
Yeah. Rob, by the way, says Jimmy Foster would be a good one. Yeah, in the he literally said, I guess the agent got a phone call about he's not watching film. This is our first round quarterback. He's not watching film, and his agent, who's a pretty funny guy, said, well, what do you mean he's not watching? He's got to be watching some film. And then literally the next cut, Manziel goes, 0. My time log had 0.0. I hated football. I did not want to watch film.
Jeez.
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. All right, it is 11:24 a.m. It is August the 11th. We are 3 weeks from a lot of us making a trip to Charlotte for the Dukes Mayo kickoff between the Gamecocks and North Carolina in Bank of America Stadium. Plenty on that today with both Michaels, Haney, and Flint in the noon hour. Coming up next, we will continue to put some of your responses into our program. Who would you like to see a documentary about that ever wore a Gamecock uniform at South Carolina, any sport? Also, some bold predictions for the 2023 Southeastern Conference football season. We are teed up by the coolest club in the Carolinas. If you play golf, the weather will hopefully soon be changing because it's been a pressure cooker out there for a while. If you want to get into some golf in the mountains, in the Midlands, in the Low Country, wherever it may be, 45 courses cover the Carolinas. If you're a member of travelingcountryclub.com, it is so awesome. I'll be headed to the mountains in a few weeks, as a matter of fact, during one of South Carolina's away weekends, and I've got 2 rounds scheduled thanks to those guys, and I think I have to pay a total of $50 to do it. I'm just ecstatic about this. Cannot wait. travelingcountryclub.com. Hang tight. Inside the Gamecocks, the show, part of the Chief Sports Network. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, this is Mo Copper from Carolina Football. The show is painted garnet black every day by a couple of painters. Go to letmepaintsomething.com to check them out. Go Cox.
10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. LetMePaintSomething.com.
If you're in the upstate of South Carolina and are in need of residential real estate services, Cindy Bass Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane is for you. Ask her about the village at Creekside, all of her listings. In my hometown of Spartanburg, South Carolina, right there on Daniel Morgan Avenue, married to a lifelong Gamecock fan. And many of our listeners have already bought homes from her and been 100% satisfied with the detail and care she uses. Cindy Searfoss, 864-414-5271, Caldwell Banker Kane in the upstate for your real estate needs.
Building your dream home is often just that, a dream, and sometimes a nightmare. But at the Barndo Company, they commit to quality and build without sacrifice. Customization, open floor plans, limitless flooring options, maintenance-free and easy installation perks, and affordability are just a few reasons why they've been named one of the best builders in the U.S. Believe in your dreams. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barndo Company, Gamecock owned, Gamecock operated. The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks!
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks of the show. First hour of the show presented to you by Cindy Searfoss and the Caldwell Banker Kane Realty team here in the upstate. Don't forget, give Cindy a call, 864-414-5271. She'll be happy to take all the calls regarding your upstate residential real estate needs. And
Kevin, by the way, is an
off guard there.
It's all good. Kevin said you got to take the Heisman if anything, right? Nothing against the kid, but it's an awful representation of what we want to give an award for being the best football player. Yeah, I mean, they took Reggie Bush's. So, I mean,
yeah, what good does that do? I mean, in reality, I understand the optics, but, you know, was there a better player than Reggie Bush on the field that year? No.
And there's not a better player than Johnny Manziel either.
No. So that doesn't do any good. Just, you know what? It's in the past. It's over. Move on.
I mean, you're not you. I mean, like in general, it's an argument over what's wrong, what's right. That's it. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, it's a moral argument or an ethical argument. And that's kind of really what it comes down to. I mean, I don't think that they're going to go back and try to do anything like that. If they do, Manziel clearly doesn't care, or he wouldn't have done what he did. But in telling the story, I mean, but yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's I don't know. And
I mean,
he knew what he was doing. He was taking a calculated risk.
No, he didn't care. Yeah, he didn't care less. I mean, the sad part is, and it was mentioned here just a minute ago in the chat box by Marion, one of our great mailmen out there. God bless all the mailmen getting mail here on time. He did mention the fact that, you know, he did, you know, he wanted to end it all. I should, you know, I think you can all figure that out, right? I'm going to spend all the money I can and end it. Now that part was sad because I don't ever like hearing anything like that. But yeah, so if you haven't seen it, check it out. The Untold Johnny Manziel story on Netflix is really, truly phenomenal. KFC, by the way, said you can't take his Heisman away. That's just stupid. I mean, the reason that they take
did it earlier, and I think anytime you do that would be.
Yeah, like so the reason you would take it away is because you didn't earn it, like at least that we're aware of, the others did by following the rules. Like you would not have earned it because you wouldn't have been eligible, essentially is what they would say by taking it away. But you wouldn't have been eligible, so you couldn't earn the Heisman Trophy if you're not eligible to actually, play the game of football. With that said, I'm not sure that going back and doing that, I just think that, if for some reason they feel like it's that big of a deal and they need to do something about it, which I don't think they will, but if they feel like it's that big of a deal, they'll just, I would say, just put an asterisk by it, and that's it. Leave it alone. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of this stuff that, like, I mean, we could sit here and have a conversation for literally every hour for 24 straight hours about the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. I got a lot of thoughts and opinions on that, and they're not the same as everybody's, and I respect everybody's, but like, there's, sometimes it's just time to move on. I mean, the guys still played the game. They did what they did. But anyways, that's for another day. Phil, bold predictions in the SEC this year. A lot of people are making them. I told you that I had one. I actually have 2 bold predictions.
I'm trying to pull up a schedule real quick.
Are you just trying to make a bold prediction up?
No, I've got a gut feeling on one, but I want to confirm it before I just look really damn stupid.
I was about to say, the point of this
is for doing a little due diligence here in the background.
The point of bold predictions isn't just to, like,
I can still be bold and not sound like a dumbass.
Okay. All right. Here's one for you. Okay. The Vanderbilt Commodores will be 4-0 to start the season.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one. That is. It's bold.
It is bold.
Not undoable.
They've got Hawaii. Well, if they can make the trip, man, what's happening over there is wild. Thoughts and prayers with all those people. It's burning up. But Hawaii's coming to them this year. They went to Hawaii last year. So, well, still, if Hawaii can make the trip, yeah. They've got Hawaii on August 26th. So we're what is that? 2 weeks? 2 weeks from tomorrow, right? Okay.
Yep.
And then you got Alabama A&M. They're 2-0. The key is, can they beat Wake Forest on the road in week 3? And when we had Phil Steele on last week, he was a little apprehensive to predict that. So I think Vanderbilt opens the season 4-0, and 1B of that with Vanderbilt. I have 2 bold predictions, but this is 1A and 1B for Vanderbilt. And then I've got a second one. Vanderbilt will be in a bowl game this year. They'll be 4-0, and they'll win 2 games in the SEC, and they will be in a bowl game under Clark Lee in his 3rd season. Is that bold?
Vandy makes a bowl game. I like it. All
right. Vandy goes 6-6, 2-6 in the league, 4-0 in the non-con. The problem with Vandy is how they have it set up with this 4 straight non-cons, and then it's the last 8 games of the year are all in the SEC. There are no breathers, but Kentucky and Missouri are both at home following the trips to Wake Forest and UNLV. I think they're going to get one of those, and then there's another one somewhere in there. I don't know who it's going to be. Let's just pray to God that it's not the Gamecocks. But I think Vanderbilt goes bowling and opens 4-0. My second bold prediction, Phil, and now I don't know who, but my second bold prediction, Georgia will not win the SEC championship.
A little less bold.
You think it's less than the
Really? I think it's a little less bold than the Vandy thing. I think that there is an opportunity here, especially with the strength coming out of the West, that Georgia may not win the conference. However, that being said, they still make the playoff.
I would go with that. That's fair. I mean, I don't know where, I'm not saying they won't be in the SEC championship game. I actually think they will be.
Same. Yeah. But they lose to the West champion.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to win the league. I mean, when you the first thing you always have to do when you talk about the best teams in the country, everybody immediately goes to the schedule. Let's let's actually look at the football team first. They're really freaking good. And we know that. So they don't really have a lot of weaknesses. But when you glance at the schedule after that, where are their hiccup games, or do they have any hiccup games? I mean, it's becoming, maybe it's because of some of the recruiting momentum, which will have absolutely nothing to do with how they play on the field this year. But it's increasingly more likely, in my opinion, that Auburn is better than people think. And this game always is very tense. And when you play Auburn, I mean, all of us have been watching football for a while, right? When you don't think that Auburn's going to be very good, they surprise you somewhere. And I'm not saying that they're going to be like really good, but all these 4-8, 5-7 predictions that keep floating around in Hugh Freeze's first year, I don't know that I'm buying that. I hope it does happen, but I don't think that I'm buying it, Phil. So the trip to Auburn on September 30th, I am not I'm not a big believer in Florida, but they play the game in Jacksonville, and who knows what the Gators are going to look like by the end of October. I mean, the question is, does Florida get better or not? I think they're going to have a rough start to the season. Do they get better or not? I don't see them winning the game at Utah. I don't think they're going to beat Tennessee, but can they get things turned around and figured out? And Billy Napier, like, if he doesn't make a bowl game this year, I'm pretty sure it's very iffy whether he returns, which is a ridiculous conversation to have. Not a huge Billy Napier fan, but coaches only getting 2 years anymore just is tragic, almost, in my opinion. But if they can get it figured out, or let's say that they have a very mediocre year, somewhere around 6-6 or 7-5, and they get to a bowl game, but one of those wins is over, I don't know, Georgia, that's going to keep Billy Napier in some decent graces in the swamp. So you've got those. The one that everybody, of course, has circled is the trip to Tennessee. But
yeah,
I haven't mentioned one, and that's South Carolina. And look, I don't know if you said today, predict the Gamecocks record. Okay, I'm not predicting that they're going to walk into Athens and win that ball game. I'm not. But I can't be inconsistent with what we've talked about the last 4 months around here either. When you have a quarterback that's really good, you can beat anybody.
You got a shot. Yeah,
you got a shot. And so I'm not going to sit here and say that Georgia, and they might go in there and they might, I see you, Joel. I'm not saying that it's bad. Hey, look, man, I'm with you. I'm not saying that Georgia won't whip the Gamecocks in the next week. Could be 50-0. I don't know what's going to happen. But when you return the guys that are returning, and you got a guy named Spencer Rattler who we've seen what he can do, and I personally think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the country, you got a shot. And if things bounce your way, strange things can happen. Georgia almost got beat by Missouri last year, guys. They almost got beat by Missouri. Now, that game was in Missouri, and I know it. I get it. But, you know, it can happen. So I think realistically, as it stands right now, there are 4 legitimate chances for Georgia to fall in the regular season, maybe 5, maybe, depending on what happens with Ole Miss, maybe. And I think they will lose a game in there somewhere, and I think they'll get beat in the SEC championship game. And Phil, they'll still get in with 2 losses.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see them get in. Yeah, I mean, you know, name recognition alone, man, that's, and think about all the wailing about the strength of schedule there will be if they do manage to pull that off.
Well,
the 2-loss Georgia gets in to the playoff. Right. I mean, you'd have to have some things play out, obviously, like USC can't go undefeated. West, you know, Ohio State and Michigan can't have their only losses to each other.
Yeah, I mean, what the Dogs are going to need to hope for, Phil, is that the teams that are supposed to be good. Well, let me rephrase that. What they're going to hope for is that the teams who are supposed to be the blue collar programs, that they need to be good. I'm talking about South Carolina, probably Auburn, Kentucky, Florida, Missouri. I mean, we hear it every week. Missouri's defense. Like and that's the thing. I call them blue collar games, right? Georgia is a white collar. They pride themselves on being a blue collar, but they're white collar. I mean, come on, let's be honest here. They're sitting in first class, just like Alabama is, just like Ohio State is, and the rest of those programs right now are blue collar. So when you look at Georgia, you've got roll the dice type blue collar games with the Gamecocks, with Auburn, with Kentucky, with Florida, with Missouri, with Ole Miss. And more than likely, probably with Tennessee as well. I do think Tennessee will have a nice year. I don't think they're like a 6-win team or anything like that. I'm saying there's a lot of teams in there that it's kind of like we got to wait and see how good they're going to be to figure out exactly what Georgia's going to have to go through in order to get where they want to be, which, of course, is playing for a national championship again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 No, I agree. And it's funny you say Auburn because that's what I was kind of putting my bold prediction in with Auburn, and that you see all this, like you said, 4-8, and just terrible year this year, but I think they finished no less than third in the West.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa! Up early drinking this morning.
I tell you what, man, I can
see no less than top
no
3
less
in the West.
Third. Top 3 in the West.
Okay, so then they finished third because they're not finishing above LSU or Alabama.
I almost said second.
Oh,
I almost said second. That would have been drunk, not bold.
I was about to say this is bold predictions, not drunk ones.
That would have been drunk, not bold. No, I think third is doable though. Looking at it, a couple of pieces fall right. I think you only have if you win 1 or 2 swing games. I mean, I could easily see them finishing third.
Above, okay, yeah, all right.
Above A&M, above Ole Miss.
But so here's my question though: if you were going to put them at second, who are you going to drop to third between Bama and LSU? I mean, they can't all finish second,
Now, as crazy as it sounds,
no. Don't
watch Auburn pull an Iron Bowl upset and move into the second spot.
Sweet Jesus.
They're playing on the plains. Crazy things happen on the plains, man. In that game, too.
God. Well, that's true. That's true. Bama's
a game that you just don't know.
You're not wrong there. You're not wrong.
But I'm not saying that. I'm saying third.
So by the end of the year,
for me to downplay Nick Saban this year, because I think Alabama is going to win and come out on top in the West. I've gone back between Alabama and LSU, but I don't know.
Well,
it's going to be a good race, though.
We're going to know how bold this prediction is on September the 9th, because if they go to Cal and lose against a team that has no conference.
Yeah. That's going to say a lot.
Then this is going to turn into Phil's drunk prediction for back in August.
I may drink more and make a bet. I mean, just go all in.
They
doesn't affect their SEC record, JB.
I mean, if they win that game, they're going to be 3-0 to open, and then for Auburn, obviously, I mean, the fourth game is on the road in College Station. If you have aspirations of doing anything like Mad Dog just said, you got to go on the road and win that game. I mean,
the one I've got circled is the 23rd. Like, I think if they come out swinging and win that game in College Station to open their conference season, then I think you could trip up twice, and then maybe it all hinges on the Iron Bowl result. That's why I almost went 2, because it really could. I mean, if you lose to Georgia or LSU and pull an upset in one of them, then it could be 2. But I don't think that happens. I think they lose 3 games.
But if they beat A&M, you realize what the next game is. It's Georgia on the Plains.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably go ahead and book a trip for College game day. And I don't know who else is playing that weekend. I'm speaking out of my rear end with that, but you get the point. It all of a sudden becomes
a huge,
lethal game.
Big weekend.
I mean, you got South Carolina at Tennessee that day. You would have Georgia on the road at Auburn. September 30th, all of a sudden in the East, you're going, whoa, things can – this is where it can kind of maybe start shaking itself out a little bit. That stretch for Auburn is brutal. At A&M, Georgia, then they get an off week, maybe to lick their wounds or maybe to feel really friggin' good about themselves. Who knows? And then they got to go to LSU. If you're 1-2 in that stretch, you've done a phenomenal job. If you're anything better than that, it's like coach of the year type job. And if it's worse than that, I would almost venture to say it's expected if it's 0-3.
Yeah, I would say the expectation is 0-3. I mean, especially if you look at what Vegas said, because I'm sure they're picked to lose all 3 of those games.
Of course they are.
By double digits.
Yeah, as it stands right now.
Stands today, yeah,
sure.
You're a double-digit underdog in all 3 of those.
Yeah,
you go 1-2, which I think is easily doable because I'm not quite there on A&M yet. I don't know. We'll see. You got to see. That's one of the biggest question marks heading into the season for me is this Texas A&M
dude,
team.
I'm not buying it. And here's what I'm saying. Like, I think people take these type of comments out of context sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, not just for me. I'm just saying in general. I'm not saying they're going to be bad. Like, I just don't know that. I just don't know that they're going to be better than 8-4. Like A&M, every time there are expectations or preseason conversations about them, they cannot ever get over 8-4.
I know. And I think there's less expectation this year as opposed to maybe the past couple of years for them. And maybe that bodes a little better for them for the final result. But I don't know. 8-4. Yeah.
I mean,
it's like it's just perennially. That's what you know.
Yeah,
that's what you were.
7-5. Yeah,
and now you paid $100 million to be that.
Mm-hmm. Congratulations. Yeah, I mean LSU, Tennessee, both on the road. They got Bama coming to town. I mean, you don't discount any of those games. You just don't know, especially Alabama over there. I mean, it's a tough place to play. I get it. Got a good Ole Miss, and then we've mentioned Auburn and mentioned South Carolina. I mean, I'm not going to discount the Gamecocks in any game they play because they have a quarterback as it stands right now who can beat about anybody. So, that's going to be, again, one of those blue-collar scary type games for anybody, including A&M, even though they get South Carolina in their place and Gamecocks never won there. Almost, but never did. So, all right, so that's your bold prediction is that Auburn, I'm going to write this down, finishes third or better.
Yeah, no less than third.
Okay, Phil's drunk predictions, August 11th. On Inside the brought to you by Moonshine.
That's
Any
right.
moonshine, real moonshine. All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mason jar moonshine.
John asked for an update on Trey Knox. I'll tell you what I heard on that when we return. We got Michael Haney ahead at noon, Michael Flynn at 12:30. It's going to be a fun finish to the week. We hope you'll stay with us right here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show painted garnet and black by a couple of painters.
Golfers and wannabe golfers, former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor is now a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina. In-person golf lessons are held at the Country Club of Lexington, half-hour, hour, on course 9 or 18 holes. And if you're outside of South Carolina, Meredith conducts virtual lessons. Just send in your golf swing for analysis. Gift cards are available for in-person 1-hour lessons. Connect on Twitter at Mayor Taylor and find her online at McKellarEnterprises.org. Her email is on the website. Schedule your next lesson today with Meredith Taylor, former Gamecock golfer. Electric Bikes of Charleston offers the most fun you'll ever have on two wheels. Magnum, Velotric, Aventon bikes, and more. And they sell to consumers all across the state and offer outstanding warranties and service after the sale. 5 levels of pedal assist plus a throttle help you handle the southern heat better, but still get great exercise. Bikes are available all ages and sizes. ElectricBikesCharleston.com or stop into their store in Mount Pleasant. Electric Bikes of Charleston, powering Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Bikes are trusted! Electric Bison Charleston! Electric Bison Charleston! Electric Bison Charleston! Electric Charleston!
Difficulties there, Phil?
Yeah, trying to do too many things at the same time.
I see that.
I apparently had the wrong email for Haney, is what it was.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
I had to fix that.
It is all good. It is 11:51, final segment here in hour number one. Some news kind of drifted out last night onto the message boards about Trey Knox. What I've been told, it's a very minor sprain, I guess potentially the MCL, but I haven't been able to confirm that. And Coach Beamer will meet with the media today and tomorrow, or we might hear something today. We certainly will hear something tomorrow. He's going to meet with the media following their first scrimmage of the preseason, which will begin at, I think, at 3:15 in Columbia. But I have not had one whisper that this is something that is major, and trust the people that has come from. I did ask if it is something that could potentially keep him out for the first game, and was just told not sure. So we'll just have to see from there. But yeah, these things, of course, sometimes happen, and it sucks. But my understanding is that it's not anything that's going to be long term for Trey Knox. So if I don't know if that helps, hurts, or whatever, any of your fears, but that's what I've been told.
Yeah, I hate to hear that. It's goal number one in preseason camp is get out of it injury free. So let's just hope it's minor.
Yeah, it should be. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. But you just never know. And God willing, he's the only or the last one we're going to hear from. There's been a pretty good chunk of guys who have come in a little bit banged up, and guys who've had some bumps and bruises already. So it's the injury report is not a short one at South Carolina by any stretch of the imagination at this point in time, but it's also not exclusive to the Gamecocks football program. There's a lot of bang ups and bruises all over the place. North Carolina is dealing with a lot of that right now as well, and other programs in the country. So what they're hoping is that they get through this early part of camp, just as they do every year. And then, once they kind of shift it into game week here coming up in less than 2 weeks, they'll start to kind of dial it back a little bit and get guys really ready to roll for the season opener. So that is kind of where things stand. Wales says would be the most South Carolina thing ever for Trey to be sidelined with an injury, and UNC getting Tez eligible for week one. Yeah, kind of seems that way from time to time. But we'll just kind of have to see. Gamecock fan asks, has Harbor been working on special teams? Does anyone know? The answer is yes, he has been. And you're going to see a lot of Nick Harbor, guys, when it gets time to play in here in just a few weeks. KFC said Rattler will be our first drafted QB, since Todd Ellis, I'm assuming, is what you wanted to finish it with there. I would bet heavily on that. Yep, as long as he stays healthy as well. Sure, absolutely. Howard on the Georgia-South Carolina game said not playing them at night helps. Playing at 3:30, of course, on CBS. That's true. Yeah. Their last win there was a noon kick, 2019. And prior to that, Phil, 19, 17, 15, 13, the 13 game. No, they lost the 13 game. The last win before that there was in 2011. That was a day game. Started in the afternoon. That was the game that Melvin Ingram took the fake punt to the house. And then prior to that, in 2009, that ended up being a night game finish, I think 45-42, if my memory serves me correct. They lost that game. 2007 was a late afternoon game. I think it began around 6. I was there, and Matthew Stafford threw a pick to Jasper Brinkley to seal it. Carolina won that one 16-12. I think the last true night game the Gamecocks won in Athens was 2001. if memory serves me correct. Phil Petty to Brian Scott with about a minute and a half to go in the ball game. Yeah, so generally the wins when they do get them in Athens come when the game kicks off in the afternoon at some point in time, and that could bode well this year maybe with the 3:30 kick on CBS. Let's see. Ken asks, any word on how Jatavius Shivers is progressing? True freshman, 6'8", 290 out of high school. Yeah, I think he's a little bit heavier than that now, Ken. I've heard pretty good things about him. I'm not sure that he'll crack the 2 deep. There's a little bit of time to go, and it doesn't mean that he won't keep working himself in there. But they like him. I know that. They really like Jatavius Shivers, a kid that was originally committed to Vanderbilt. And if anybody remembers JC, speaking of this young man, while he was committed to, or right after he decommitted from the Commodores, he was a guy that had gotten word from inside the building that they really were hoping to reel him in. They liked him a lot, and they did. Matter of fact, when he opened up that recruitment, a lot of the bigger name programs came calling, and South Carolina won out. But he's got a bright future at South Carolina. You're right. Big boy. And he's going to be one of a lot of big boys over the next couple of years with the class that just came in the 24 class. They're all 6'5", 6'6", up to 6'8". Amazing stuff. Harrison said, I don't know. It was pretty rowdy between the hedges for the 3:30 kick against Tennessee last year. Just say, well, it's always rowdy between the hedges. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
But history serves the Gamecocks better when they play in the afternoon over there, or at least in the daylight. But if you can get a noon kick in Athens, do it. The drunks haven't necessarily all infiltrated this. They're not barking and peeing on your leg yet. And then finally, one final quick note here before we hit a timeout and get to Michael Haney. Tim Frisbee would be a pretty good untold. Tim did respond to us on Twitter, and he said, documentaries, I don't know. Maybe Pops Frisbee? Is it that long ago already? I'm not feeling the love. Nah, he's right.
Yeah.
His story is phenomenal, being a former Army Ranger and wide receiver and teammate of Michael Flint, who's just ahead in the second hour as well. Tim was on the Late Show with I know he was on with Letterman. Was he on with Leno too? I know he was on with Letterman. He was on a bunch of shows.
I wouldn't be surprised if he were on both. Yeah.
He
made the rounds.
Yeah, it was a pretty good story. So sorry about that, Tim. And
leaned into that, hasn't he? That's nice. All right, I like it. Go, Tim.
The 05. I think it was 05. The 05 wide receiver group picture still circulates from time to time. Tim puts it up here and there. A lot of dudes on that roster, man. Kenny had just gotten to school. Sydney was on that roster. OJ Murdoch, who unfortunately didn't end well for him either, just like Kenny McKinley. There was a ton of talent in that room. Jared Cook was technically in that room. Pretty crazy. Not that far. Actually, yeah, we are aging you a little bit, Tim. That was almost 20 years ago, man. Crazy stuff. All right, we need to hit a timeout. Hour one is in the books. 2 mics coming up. Michael Haney, his new release is out today. Wherever you get your music, download it. You'll love it. It's a song called Easy. He wrote it, and it's so easy to listen to. This is on the heels of the release of Born to Crow, the new EP coming out here shortly with 5 songs. He's going to talk about all of that and some Gamecock football, and he'll be followed up by our redheaded stepchild friend from Mount Pleasant, Michael Flint, in Wando's World. Hang tight. Final hour of the work week here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show from the Sinorama Studios. We'll be right back.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Nana's Porch, nanasporch.com. At Nana's Porch, they cater weddings, parties, and all kinds of special events. Their meals are served buffet style. In seconds, they're encouraged. Plus, they can bring their mobile food unit to bring on-site and serve your guests as a unique alternative for your catering needs. Inquire about rentals as well. nanasporch.com. Find them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. 336-259-7550.
If you're on Medicare currently or approaching eligibility, it's time to enroll in a Medicare plan that meets your needs. Palmetto Medicare is here to help you through the process. Palmetto Medicare's owner, Brian Spencer, and his team of experts are here to assist you. Learn about the benefits and enroll in a plan that will cover as many of your medical costs as possible. Some of the advantages of Medicare health plans may include variety of plan choices, increased benefits, lower premiums, and more. Give Palmetto Medicare a call to discuss your insurance and help get the exact coverage for your needs today.
All right, welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barndo Co. and live from the Sinorama Studios. Michael Haney has been in this seat a lot, and now he's writing music and singing music and everything in between out of Nashville. Of course, he's not in Nashville today. He just wrapped up the Nashville Night Series last night in Columbia, back to his roots, and he has been kind enough to talk some Gamecock football. But amongst all of that is the release of his second single, Easy, which is out now. You can download it into your phones, and it is very easy to listen to. It's a wonderful jam. We've already listened to it multiple times this morning, Mike. We're glad to have you, brother. What's up?
I'm doing all right, man. Thanks. I appreciate you having me on. Yeah,
man.
Late night last night in Greensboro. I'll just, not to be that guy, but the official end is
today's Friday.
Night. Yeah, I know. It gets doing two of those shows each week for the last 3 months is has got my head spinning too. So it's been harder even for me to keep up with.
Yeah, I was thinking today was, I don't know what I'm thinking. I'll tell you what he was
you got
thinking.
a lot going on, Jamie. It's all good.
I don't know. I've been off all show.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Phil
but I did put the link to the song, which is awesome, by the way, Michael, is in the description, y'all. So click the description on YouTube everywhere. Go download it now.
Yeah, it's a killer song, Mike. Give us the scoop on this thing. We definitely want to talk to you about Carolina football. We'll get into that in just a few minutes, but it wasn't just a few months ago. Born to Crow came out. This is going to be your first football season with Born to Crow, so I'm anxious to see how that kind of takes off. But Easy out today. Give us the background on why you wrote it, what you wrote it about, and everything else.
Well, it was one of those things where, I mean, for those that know my background, I mean, obviously I was in radio for a long time. That's how we all know each other. And it's part of this, that part of my life and this part of my life connecting with that. But when I left, I didn't really tell anybody what I was doing. So I think there were a lot of folks that maybe thought I was just going up to do radio in Nashville or just something else, or just moving on. And so I had a lot of questions from family and friends, and they're like, yeah, so you're just moving to Nashville, huh? But I knew in my head what I was going to do. It was just hard to explain and in a way to say, yeah, I'm going to try to go do music. I'm leaving radio and moving to Nashville to do music. So it's almost like, I guess to give a sports analogy, like on a wet field, when a receiver's against a defensive back and the receiver knows where he's going, but the defensive back doesn't know. Like I knew I was that receiver on a wet field. I knew where my route was going. I knew what I wanted to do. So I didn't really think about it. And so sort of the questions and maybe some of the tears that family members had, while it meant something at the time, didn't quite hit me until probably a year or so after I moved. And then I came back and realized that everybody was kind of used to me being gone. And then the tables turned on me, and I was like, well, wait, so nobody's sad that I'm around. That little narcissist part of my brain kicked in. And I was like, man, nobody's not as sad that I'm not here anymore. And for those of you that have made the drive from Columbia up to Knoxville, there's that 23-mile stretch between Asheville and Knoxville. It's a windy road. It's like a perfect car commercial stretch,
Yep.
Throw in some Zeppelin or some AC/DC or some Fog Hat or Golden Earring, whatever your favorite driving song may be.
Right.
And it was halfway through that where, I got gifted the thought of I'm only really gone when the leaving gets easy. And I didn't really know what to do with that at the time, but I kept it in my back pocket, put it in my phone. And it was a couple of years ago. I was sitting down in a co-write with my good friend Chris Canterbury. He's an incredible songwriter, by the way, and definitely go check out Chris Canterbury. He put out a fantastic album last year, but I was throwing out ideas with him, and I sang to him the first few lines of what I had, which was just the first verse and part of the chorus. And when we got to the line in the song that says "This heart ain't made for the status quo," his eyes lit up, and I knew, that was only a good thing, because I respect the hell out of Chris, and so to know that something that I said, rang true and hit him, he's like, yeah, that's the song that we're writing today, and that's what we got through a couple of years ago, and I've been playing it around, and really the first time that I played the song for somebody like outside of close friends and family. My other part of life that I do is I do voiceover work. So I'll tell you this story. I was doing a Zoom call voiceover training with the Atlanta Voice Studio, who those folks are fantastic as well. And my teacher had never heard me sing, and he said, hey, like, we've been doing these lessons online for months now, and I know that you write songs. I've never heard you sing. Like, play something for me. And I think it was maybe a month after I'd written Easy, and I played the song, and he had himself on mute. That's kind of, the way that we had worked. While we would try out voice stuff, he would go on mute and critique me. But I could see him like moving around and see his hands, kind of moving a little bit, and the in the periphery, but I finished the song, and then when I was done, realized that he was bawling, and I thought something had happened. I was like, "What? Are you okay?" And he had recently lost his mother, and he just said, "I was not expecting that," and this. He's like, "Wow, that's really, really amazing, and thank you for that." He said that took me to a place I didn't know uh, that I needed to go to, and those kind of stories started to happen the more I played it out the last couple of years, where I would get different folks that would come up after a show and tell me what it meant to them. So it's truly the first song that I've written where everyone has a different take and has a different feeling and a different emotional connection, and that's actually something that's been really cool for me to experience on my end of it, and I'm just really proud of it and glad that it's out in the world for everybody to enjoy.
This is because I this is how you know I'm a good friend, because I didn't tell anybody. Isn't this the one that you sent me a long time ago and you said down low, even Patrick hadn't heard it?
Yeah.
Yep. I knew it was, because I haven't gone back. It's been a while since I listened to it a lot when you sent it to me, that first like kind of rough cut. I remember I was like, this is pretty good. Never said anything. So, I knew this day would come. It's like a commitment video, Mike. You don't want to steal someone's thunder.
Right. Yeah.
So we didn't chop it up, play it on the show or anything like that.
I appreciate that.
But so you're going to play it tonight. Everybody in Columbia, if you want to head to Steel Hands Brewing tonight, you can go see Michael in their final Nashville Nights. The final night of Nashville Nights, part of this summer series that is awesome. It's Steel Hands in the Midlands. But you are what now? Are you 2 weeks away from the release of the EP?
Yeah. So this was just the taster, and then the 25th, I'll put out the other 4 songs on the EP, and through we got 4 originals, and then there's a Tom Petty standard that I have loved for years, among many others, but did a little bit different spin on it, and I'm pretty proud of how that turned out. But yeah, it'll be a 5-song EP, taken from the line, the chorus in Easy. The name of the EP is When the Leaving Gets Easy. So just kind of leaned into that, and yeah, it'll be out the 25th.
Is Born to Crow on that or no?
It is not. It's a standalone single, standalone project. So maybe one day we'll get a Gamecock compilation album and get everybody on there.
Just get you and PD, you and Patrick, y'all just collaborate together and do that.
Yeah.
So this is and I'm pretty sure everybody's already done it, but we're gonna say it again, and because Born to Crow, although it wasn't played there, but it is part of multiple bumpers that we have on our program. It's football season, guys. Make sure that Born to Crow is in your playlist for game day. And for those that ask, who the hell is this? You're looking at him. It's Michael Haney. So make sure that you spread the news. You can share if you have Apple Music like I have, you can share the song to all your friends. It is a hell of a song for Gamecock football, and it's been out for quite some time. It's in our playlist, so you well know that my kids just adore that song. So
well, I appreciate that, man. And I got to say, as cool as it is to put out, non-Gamecock related songs, I can't think of any greater honor than walking through the fairgrounds one day or Gamecock Park and hearing Born to Crow somewhere. As somebody that didn't miss a home game from 1992 to 2012 when my best friend was getting married and I had no other choice but to miss a Gamecock home football game. Yeah, that would mean the world to be able to hear that. It'd be pretty cool.
Well, it's going to happen. It's going to happen in Charlotte. I know at least at one tailgate. That will be the Carolina Rise tailgate outside of Bank of America Stadium. We'll have that playing probably on loop. We don't even play that big old cock song anymore. It's so old. Like
so many things going through my head right now. It's a family show, though.
Yeah. Hey, Patrick, up yours, man. You got to come out with some new stuff, which he is doing. We don't have you for long. Again, Easy is out, and follow Michael Haney on all social media platforms as well. And if you really are like, I don't know, I'm not on social media. I don't know. If you've downloaded the Chief Sports app, you'll find him in there in the musical partners section. We've got a section for him right there, and you can go in there and check that out as well. And we're really proud of somebody that I've long looked up to, because you're one of the reasons I wanted to get into sports media.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
You really ruined it for me, man. You owe my family an apology. Carolina football is coming up, Mike, and this is something that we have been really hitting on for a while around here. Of course, you covered South Carolina like none other when working at 107.5 The Game all of those years. But this statement I'm about to make, hopefully it comes true, but generally it is true in college football. When you have an elite quarterback, you can beat anybody. Doesn't mean you're going to beat everybody, but you generally can beat anybody. South Carolina feels like they've got one in Spencer Rattler, and that makes things pretty exciting heading into the year.
Well, no question. I mean, they did a lot to make sure that he and Juice Wells came back, because, with a 1-2 punch at quarterback and receiver, you're absolutely right. You give yourself a chance. I mean, the obvious concerns are there. He's the running back position and depth there to be able to balance things out. But if you're a Gamecock fan, like we all are here, the one thing that you can hope is that whatever got uncorked at that Tennessee game for Spencer Rattler and through the Clemson game, and even for at least the first half or so of the bowl game, that's the Spencer Rattler that you continue to see for the entire season, and that it finally is all clicking for him, because there's no question he's an incredibly dangerous weapon, and he gives South Carolina a chance to be a continually competitive team and try to build themselves up that ladder in the Eastern Division, or at least while we still have a division.
Yeah, on Wednesday, a guy who wrote an unbelievable article about you, David Cloninger with the Post and Courier, he was on our program, and he teased, I would imagine, knowing that how they do things at the Post and Courier, it'll be out on Sunday, but he teased a column that's coming out in the next few days about what transpired behind the scenes as the season ended offensively. And so I'm anxious to read that. By the way, that's true. Just a couple of months ago, an awesome article came out that David wrote about Michael Haney. You should check it out if you haven't. But with that said, the guy that's leading the program is Shane Beamer. You've known Shane a long time, since he first came to South Carolina in 2007. I know y'all kept in touch over the years. Watching it from afar, him leading this program, the program that you grew up following, you covered all those years, and now here he is stationed in Columbia. He's the head guy. Is it still kind of hard to wrap your brain around the fact that it's Shane Beamer, and how have you kind of seen him grow up, Mike, in the last couple of years, from literally the day he was hired to now? We hear his press conferences. We see him. I just saw him at the golf course a couple of weeks ago. It is, I don't know that personally anything has changed, but I haven't known him as long as guys like you. What have you seen?
I just think naturally for anyone, when you go from a certain role to a bigger role over a course of about 14, 15 years. I think anytime you do things like that, you're going to learn a lot of lessons along the way. And, from who he was as a young coach with South Carolina at that time, and an incredible recruiter, which he still is. I think that those are the things that have stayed true. If I could say that there's any difference, it's just the fact that he's in a larger role now, but he's always been the same person. And he just is in a position now where he is able to take more ownership, be more of a statesman, and leader and figurehead of a program right now. And that's kind of cool to see that growth from, a special teams coordinator and a recruiting coordinator to the head guy within the same hallways. I think that's been kind of cool the last few years to see from him. It was exciting to get the job. Now he's entrenched. He's got a little bit of wind in his sails from some signature wins towards the end of the year. And the proof that, as frustrating as things have been these last couple of years, especially on the offensive side of the ball, ultimately he was able to get the best out of his players when it mattered the most. And I think that's a pretty cool thing to see, and see him continuing to grow and elevate himself as a head coach.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's also, we've all seen the public side over the last couple of years. I know I got to get you out here in just a couple of minutes, but you get the trip to Columbia ahead of you, traffic willing. I know, the last couple of years we've seen these wild images of Shane. Opponents like to use some of them. One in particular always pops up when they were getting their, what's kicked in Knoxville a couple of years ago. Shane was very animated when they finally, put some points on the board, and Tennessee people thought that was really funny until last year they walked into Williams-Brice and then they got their asses kicked, and it's kind of all evened out now. But I mean, we've seen there's an overwhelming amount of positivity about him publicly, but what we've also learned is behind the scenes, he means business. This is how we're going to do things. If you don't want to do it that way, then you're going to go find somewhere else to do it. Whether you're a coach or a player or whatever it is. And we get the Nick Sabans of the world and all these other guys that consistently put off the one vibe that, like, what you see publicly generally is what you're going to get privately. But Shane's pretty good about balancing the two of them, and I think that's what's led to the enthusiasm amongst the fan base. The national media has really taken to him. The recruiting has all stepped up. I mean, it's a balancing act, but he does it as well as about anybody we've seen.
Yeah, no, there's no question. And again, I think the balancing act, and I would even tell him this, is you can't get too high. It's great to have those moments and to say, hey, look, we knew that we could do this all along, and you just had to trust the process and had to trust where things were headed. Now it's just a matter of being able to stay steady and stay consistent with that, and not have the massive swings from week to week. That's the next step for this team and this program with him at the helm, is to figure out how to make what happened at the end of last season a much more consistent week in and week out thing, and not going and beating A&M and then turning around and losing to Missouri and whatever things that we may go in between. But I say that, and different times and different eras. I mean, South Carolina beat Alabama and then turned around and lost to Kentucky the next week, so that's not necessarily a Shane Beamer thing. That's kind of been a South Carolina thing for a while. So, but yeah, I'd say just in general, find some consistency week to week that doesn't make us all want to rip our hair out. What little some of us have left.
He's doomed. It's over. Yeah, it's
too late for me, Michael. It's too late.
I didn't miss a game for almost 20 some odd 30 years, and this is
we've
what
been following it.
This is Gamecock fandom right here.
Oh man. Well, Mike, we'll let you run. We know you got the trip tonight if you're in Columbia, and we know a ton of you are, of course, at Steel Hands Brewing. It's the final night of the Nashville Nights concert series. It is headlined and really orchestrated by this fine gentleman, Michael Haney, whose new single is out today, Easy. You just got some free pub on Twitter from Pops Frisbee as well. Tim tweeting out your song.
Pops, man. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. It's been a long time. I hadn't seen him in a minute. Look forward to hopefully seeing him at the Gamecock kickoff party coming up soon.
Coming up pretty soon. Looking forward to that. Safe travels to Columbia. We'll get you back in really soon. Congratulations. We're really, really, really proud of you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
You got it, man. There you go. Michael Haney, the former top-notch producer at 107.5 The Game in Columbia, and he's turned into a hell of a songwriter, and now he's out there with his guitar playing it as well. This song is killer. It's made the playlist aptly named in my phone the greatest playlist ever created. That's how good it is. And I would suggest that you download that and tell your friends as well. Michael Haney, a true Gamecock. Got to hit a you listened to it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. It's a great song. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It is absolutely fantastic. We do need to step aside. We're powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston. If you want to go up to 28 miles per hour for 60 miles on an electric bike, that's where you want to go. They serve the entire state of South Carolina, and they are proud business partners of Carolina Rise as well. Hats off to Michelle Wilkins and her team in the Low Country. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for making it easy to drink beer and ride bicycles. We'll be right back.
The preferred sign partner of Gamecock Athletics is Signorama Columbia, and they should be yours too. A full-service sign company that handles design, production, install, and service, Signorama Columbia has helped to bring to life the perfect vision for so many all across South Carolina. Owned and operated by proud Gamecock alumni, they can handle all types of signage, including interior and exterior, vehicle graphics, and more. Go to Signorama.com and find the West Columbia location, or call them at 803-407-9284. Bring your brand to life with Signorama Columbia, and go Gamecocks!
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
If you're in the real estate market in the Low Country or even in the Midlands, please contact me, JB, with Coast to Coast Realty SC. You hear me and see me every day here on Inside the Gamecocks, and it would be an honor to earn your business. I've been around real estate my entire life, as it's somewhat of a family business. I work with an elite team of experts from loans to insurance to closing, and they make my clients and my life very easy. It really is elite. Coast to Coast Realty SC.com is where you can find our staff, and you can always reach out to me here as well. Go Gamecocks.
Coach O here, and when I'm not eating average jambalaya or celebrating endless summer in Destin, I like to eat pimento cheese straight out the bucket. And the only pimento cheese I like to eat is from Nana's Porch. It's award-winning, it'll melt in your mouth, it's good on a cracker, it's good in a bowl, it's good on a piece of bread. Also, don't forget Nana's Porch has a hell of a food truck. It's award-winning as well, and they're here for all of your catering needs. So get online, nanasporch.com. It's good. Coach O signing off. Endless summer, go Tiger.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does the Barndo Company, where they can build your dream home starting as low as $160 per square foot. If you live in the Carolinas, Georgia, or Tennessee, their turnkey process takes just 4 to 6 months on average and can be custom designed by size and details. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. That's thebarndominiumco.com. The Barndo Company, Gamecock, owned and operated.
Welcome to TravelingCountryClub.com, your modern golf club experience. Hey folks, this is Michael Manus, former Gamecock golfer, inviting you to play more golf with a membership to TravelingCountryClub.com. With over 40 courses across the Carolinas, our membership provides you with an affordable way to enjoy a club-like golf experience. From the mountains to the coast, we offer golf courses that will challenge all types of golfers, no matter your handicap level or level of play. Plus, we offer unique membership benefits not seen anywhere else as part of Traveling Country Club. Tee it up with Traveling Country Club, TravelingCountryClub.com, TravelingCountryClub.com, proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Hey everybody, this is Mo Copper from Carolina Football. The show is painted garnet black every day by a couple of painters. Go to letmepaintsomething.com to check them out. Go Cox.
10% off for military repeat customers or mention the show. Interior, exterior painting, fencing, cabinet staining, concrete painting, popcorn ceiling removal, and more. 803-522-6832. Letmepaintsomething.com.
Welcome back inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barndo Co. and live from the Signorama Studios on a finally Friday is what we will call it. Before we get Michael Flint in for Wando's World, I do want to mention that the Walter Camp Award watch list is out. And there, which is for the it's the preseason watch list for the Player of the Year in college football, and there are no Gamecocks on the watch list. Now, that happens. It's okay.
No, I mean, yeah,
I understand that. Okay,
one of those best player in football trophies, right?
Yeah, best player in football. Okay, all right, cool. There are, of the 45 players named, there are 20 quarterbacks, and not a one is named Spencer Rattler. But Frank Harris is on there from UTSA, and Michael Pratt from Tulane, and Jalen Daniels from Kansas, Siobhan Cordiero, quarterback at San Jose State. They're all members of the 20 quarterbacks who are members of a group of 20 quarterbacks that make up the 45-man preseason watch list for the Walter Camp Award. All of them apparently should be playing at South Carolina over Spencer Rattler, according to the voters of the Walter Camp Award. So we'll leave that there. That is just more juice in the juice box for Spencer Rattler to suck dry as the season approaches, because the rest of the country has not given him a whole lot of love leading into the year. Marion asks, any Cam Scott news yet? No. That commitment coming up here in less than, I think, a couple of hours. And the latest on that, according to our friend John Whittle, is it's looking unlikely that South Carolina lands the 5-star from Lexington. But you never know. So he's going to keep his eyes on it. I know David Cloninger is mentioned to us on Wednesday. He'll be there in person to cover it. And so at least there's some intrigue on the South Carolina side of things, and we'll go from there. Without further ado, though, from one Mike to another, Haney to Flint. Haney has no hair. Michael has too much of it, and he joins us here on a Friday afternoon. What's up, man?
Nothing much. What's going on, guys?
Mike, Harrison asked an interesting question here. When was the last time a quarterback with the talent and track record of like Rattler got disrespected that much nationally heading into the season? It is people who aren't fans of the Gamecocks are going to tell Carolina fans that he sucked a large majority of the first part of last year. And I it's fine. I'm not going to get into an argument with anybody about that. This guy has also done enough in his collegiate career to earn some sort of recognition from somebody. And very few out there are giving him any props for having any type of a really successful senior season. So it's an interesting question, because you got to feel like if he was playing for a team with a G on the helmet or an A or an LSU or something like that, the whole country would be paying closer attention to him.
Yeah, that's very surprising. And I'm trying to think about that. I can't recall anything relatively close to that. He did struggle early in the season last year, but when you look at when teams get ranked and when individual awards start coming out for the next season, looking back, a lot of what people look at is the last few games of that previous year and the talent they have around him and what they have coming back. And if you look at what he did the last 3 games of the year, last 3-4 games of the year, it was a night and day difference from what you saw the first part of the year, and that's what surprises me about a lot of these rankings and how, where Spencer is on the board, in regards to the quarterbacks across the country. Because you see what he did the last 3 or 4 games of the year, and it was a complete night and day difference. But then you look at what he did at Oklahoma his first year. He did have some issues that, before he got replaced by Caleb Williams, but you look at how good of a quarterback Caleb Williams is, where he's talked about going in the draft this year. So it's surprising, but I think it gives him added motivation to continue to really work hard, not only, physically, but mentally, in that quarterback room watching film, because this day and age with social media everybody praising these kids and, being given the world, it's very easy to get complacent. And, you're at the stadium, you're tired, and it's, I'm just going to go ahead and go on home. But then you think back and it's like, the disrespect and all the things that have been happening, that's when he goes that extra distance, says, you know what, I'm gonna sit right here and I'm gonna watch film. I'm gonna go for another hour, or I'm gonna, things like that, which go a long way in terms of play on Saturday. So, I think it's a very much added motivation, and he definitely sees it. And I think that's just gonna, really help him continue to work and put in that extra time to prove everybody wrong.
Yeah, I think that, the way that he ended the year last year was really phenomenal. It was, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Let's call it what it is. I'm not scared to say that. I know some people are. We're not, because he was. He's got a new offensive coordinator. It sounds strange to say this, and Carolina fans will chuckle when I do, but that's because they've had a front row seat for the last couple of years as to what the offense looked like. But if there wasn't a change at OC, let's say that Marcus Satterfield was returning for his third season and it was status quo and Rattler ended the year the way that he did, he probably actually would get a little bit more hype in the preseason right now. But the fact that they have a change at offensive coordinator to Dowell Loggins, who still amongst the national media and a lot of these voters is widely unknown of who that even is, I think that that's probably helped simmer a lot of those expectations and accolades, Mike. And then on top of that, though, like you look up the road at Kentucky and everybody, they can't help but here we go again, gush over another transfer quarterback into the Wildcats program, not to be disrespectful to Will Levis, but Devin Leary is going to come save the day. And, Liam Cohen's back and these guys are going to win everything. And Mark Stoops has finally got it figured out and the whole 9 yards. I don't know. It's a strange ordeal. Everybody couldn't wait to give Shane Beamer all these props last year, but yet nobody wants to give his quarterback any props walking into the year with an offensive coordinator whose track record dwarfs that of the old one. And I think I agree with you. I think going into the year, Spencer Rattler, much like Shane Beamer, is keeping receipts.
Yeah, that's why this time of the year is always called talking season. And it's so easy to talk people up and talk teams up and talk the depth up and what you got coming back. And, it's easy to talk about these kind of things and really look back at what happened the previous year, but you don't see what's really gone on between the end of that season with winter workouts, spring practice, summer workouts, and then into camp. How these guys are really coming together, how they gel as a team, really just everything inside the locker room. You don't really see that. I remember, specifically this, I remember watching on the SEC network, I think Chris Doering was going through Kentucky going into last year and just all the hype and everything surrounding it. I think he had them going like 11-1 or 10-2 or something like that.
11-1.
And I just I remembered that because I kept that in the back of my head. I'm like, I just, I don't see it. In looking at the other programs around the SEC and what their schedule looked like. So, I think there's a big reason this is called talking season, like Coach Spurrier used to always refer to it as. But, once we get to that first game and the lights come on, the pads go on, and you get out there on that field, it's a completely different ball game. And that's where things change. There's a lot out there in the media, and a lot of people get paid good money to, talk about, the SEC, to talk about college football in general. And there's got to be things to hype up and things like that. So I think that's just part of it. I think the transfer portal pretty much magnifies that. And you look at Florida State, what people are talking about at Florida State and, adding Jaheim Bell and all these guys. But, to be honest, I think South Carolina's in a better situation this year at tight end than we were last year, with everything together with depth and the type of personnel you have and, what these guys are willing to do and the versatility, flexibility they do have and the camaraderie. It's going to be a fun season. It's going to be a long season. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs, and you'll see a lot of what was talked about going into the season, kind of comparing it to what happens. And I think it looks completely different, to be honest.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that, I feel like Beamer likes to operate from forgot about, low expectations kind of thing, to where they can just continue to surpass, because he has in the first 2 seasons in South Carolina, overproduced. Period. I mean, they weren't picked to win 2 or 3 games his first season, 7. Picked to win 5.5 last year, 8. Mm-hmm. So it's like you got to think Spencer takes on some of that mentality from his head coach, correct? I mean, that's got to filter out throughout the entire roster and coaching staff.
There's no doubt about it. To be honest, I mean, you look at, and I go back to this last year when we thought everything was hitting the fan, and we were losing games we had no business losing, and we had Tennessee and Clemson on the horizon, and Coach Beamer stayed the course with his message. He never veered from his vision of a program, and find some joy, and continuing to stay positive and keep a positive outlook. And you know what? He wouldn't trade anybody in that locker room for anybody else outside of it. He knows what he's got in a program. And that's been the best part about watching the first couple of years going into the third year, is that Coach Beamer's never strayed from his vision and what this program is about, and the culture and the type of players that he recruits, the camaraderie, like everything. He's never strayed from that. And so I think that's a big part of why he's been able to do what he's been able to do is huge, to be honest. And that's been the best part about seeing all this. And these guys on the team have taken on his mentality and kind of the personality that he has regarding the program. And I think that's why we've been able to see success so early and be able to win some ball games when everybody else in the country, didn't believe or didn't think we could. And so, that's like I said, I've seen a lot of those projections about over under on games. I wish I was a betting man the last couple of years, because I would have won a little bit of money. But but no,
you
I think
wouldn't. It's had you bet they wouldn't have won those games. You know how it works.
Yeah,
you're right.
That's exactly right.
No, we would have all fallen on the sword for Carolina. Mike, one of the things that's going to continue to prepare Spencer Rattler for the 2023 football season is the Gamecock defense, and they're I think increasingly more optimistic by the day that this unit is going to maybe be a little bit better than recent units, and also than as advertised. We know what the knowns are. We know the fact that they return maybe the best safety in the league, former All-American, although there's once again, here we go, some of these preseason polls. No Nick Eamon-Worry in the All-SEC preseason team. Guy was an All-American last year. Can't crack the 3 deep this year. Okay. DQ Smith, they love where Marcellus Dial is. When I say they love, I know that is a very, very kindly used word a lot. They do, though. And they're really excited about O'Donnell. Fortunate. The biggest thing with those guys, Mike, was making sure that they understood how good they were. Can you believe that? Like, that's literally what the staff was trying to tell them. Dude, you're good. Act like it. Be a jerk out there. Act like a jackass from time to time. Hit him in the mouth and stand over him like Swearinger did. Like, you can do it. It's a linebacker core that is probably the most physical they've had around here in a while. And then I think the question mark has been what's it going to look like up front, Mike? But they've got guys who are having really good camps, including a 6-year defensive end in Tyreek Johnson. So all in all, I know that you're not, on the beat, and you're not in the locker room every day seeing the things that happen. But this defense, based on what we've heard, is a pretty fundamentally sound to this point, and I think that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, this year, this defense is kind of one of the more intriguing and interesting defenses, kind of the outlook going into the season from a personnel standpoint, because, there's a lot of unknown in this defense, I think, with a lot of the guys that are going to be in that starting lineup or the 2 deep. But I think that goes back to Coach Beamer building the roster the right way, to where you have guys that go to the NFL or that have been playing and been starting as older guys that graduate and move on. And then these younger guys who have gotten reps and who have been backups now step up and are starters, and that's how you build a program and how you build depth is, you got guys who have played as freshmen, they've contributed, they've been on special teams, they've played meaningful snaps. And then as the older guys graduate, go to the NFL or go pro, whatever it may be, those younger guys who are now maturing and getting older are now stepping into those starting roles. But you haven't really seen a lot of them, especially like O'Donnell Fortune. You got some guys up front like TJ Sanders. You got, some of the different guys that have, like O'Donnell Fortune, who have played meaningful snaps, who have been good so far, but you haven't gotten a huge sample size of what they can do. But as you've seen, Marcellus Dial, O'Donnell Fortune, what they've been able to do in camp, the kind of the height they've gotten, and they've been really good so far. They've had good springs, and you really see the talent that they have. Even at linebacker, you got Stone Blanton. I know Mo Kaba is coming off injury, but that's one of the guys I'm really, really looking forward to, because he reminds me of kind of an Ernest Jones. Watching him play last year, how physical he is. He puts his nose in there. He's not afraid to take on a block, head up, shed a block, and make a tackle. He's one of the guys I'm most looking forward to this year is Mo Kaba and coming back from that injury, because I think he can be one of the more special players on this defense that really is the anchor of this defense. But when you got guys like that coming back, at safety, Nick Emanwari, DQ Smith, it's huge. But the depth behind those guys, you look back last year at the Tennessee game when Peyton Williams had to step in as a true freshman, not really playing at all, and played a heck of a game in the second half, coming into just a pass-happy offense that's trying to sling it all over the park. And so that's what's been the fun part about watching this defense over the course of the last couple of years, is the depth that they've been able to build. And then as, year over year, that depth continues. It continues the course. And those guys who were lower on the depth chart early on in their career have developed, have worked hard, and now step into those starting roles and then become those all SEC type players that can go pro, can get drafted, that, and I love seeing that. And this is kind of one of those first years that we've seen it along the lines of the depth of those younger guys that have been here are now stepping into these starting roles. And it's a little bit of an unknown, but they have all the talent in the world. It's just they were playing behind guys who, are now in the NFL, and Darius Rush and Cam Smith. And so that's going to be the fun part about watching this year. I think the two guys up front that I think are going to take massive steps forward that I'm really looking forward to is, Tonka Hemingway and Alex Huntley. I think those two guys are primed for big years. I think the versatility of Tonka Hemingway, being able to move him inside or outside, being able to do different things up front from formation, your front seven, whether you have a 3-man front, 4-man front, moving guys around, putting Tonka outside on at defensive end in some packages, and the versatility that he brings, I think is phenomenal. And I think those two guys are primed to really have big years this year, and that's going to be the fun part. I think one of the most intriguing young guys I'm looking forward to seeing and how he is used is Grayson Howard, with how big he looks. Just in pictures with guys you see on social media, he is a big kid, and it's like he's growing into like an edge rusher, and on specialty down, specialty type pass rush situations where you see him lined up on the field outside at linebacker. He's one of the more intriguing guys I'm really looking forward to seeing in this defense. But I really think this defense is going to be better than what people have them, what people think is going to happen. And, utilizing that depth that we've been able to build is going to be fun to watch this year.
Well, it's almost unfair. I don't know if I call it unfair. That's not a fair statement, actually. But they're going to have two pretty immediate tests with North Carolina and Georgia in week 3. I mean, we're going to know where their weaknesses are and where their strengths are probably rather quickly. Mike, I think how healthy Mo Kaba and Jordan Strawn can get before the start of the season is pretty crucial, to be honest. I mean, even if they get healthy the day before the game, okay, they're good to go. They've missed a ton of time. Strawn has been out there, and so has Mo, and we expect them to play. But those two guys, I mean, if everything was considered equal, okay, everybody's healthy, this is the group we've got, but everybody's healthy. If you said outside of the known, pick, Nick Eamon-Wari, take him out, go ahead and take DQ Smith out. Who are the best players you've got on defense? I would circle Mo Kaba and Jordan Strong, and those are the two that have been banged up.
Yeah. And I think when those injuries happened early last year, kind of earlier in the season, has given them some time to really heal and rehab the right way, not try to rush back too quickly, really being able to get yourself physically prepared, from a health standpoint, physically and mentally. I mean, it's tough coming back from those injuries because the first times you really go full speed, it's in the back of your mind and you're really thinking about it. And those guys having the time through spring, through fall, through winter workouts, through fall, camp is huge mentally. Not, and I think that's once you get into the game time and that game atmosphere, that's where it tends to slow you down as you think about it more than you should, because you're healthy, but it's just right there in the back of your mind. And so being able to get those reps in the summer, being able to get, those reps in winter workouts and all that, I think is huge for those guys. And getting to 100% and not getting to 100%, more so game one, but being 100% in camp, but getting yourself back physically and mentally. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. When you're off when you're off that leg for so long, you really got to build up not just your knee, but you got to build up your hamstring muscles, the quad muscles, all the other muscles that are there. And because you haven't used it. And so it's not really just the knee, but it's really everything. It's the whole leg that you have to kind of build back up, not only mentally or not only physically, but mentally as well. And so, I think the amount of time that's gone by has really allowed those guys that time to physically and mentally heal to where they're actually a full 100%, come game one.
All right, let's let you give us some X's and O's and some ins and outs of how the thing works here. This is not surprising in any way, shape, or form, but some of the reporting being done by our friends at the Big Spur over the last week plus about Nick Harbor, or that he's fine, he's going to play, and he's really freaking good and fast, and this kid is going to be a difference maker for South Carolina. He also is a freshman, and he has never stepped on the field before with a guy facing him named O'Donnell Fortune or Marcellus Dial saying, yeah, big boy, I know you're fast, but my job is to make sure that you can't get off the line of scrimmage. Mike, what does it take for a freshman wide receiver to figure that out? What are those defensive backs doing? If you can explain that in football talk for us, to prevent a guy with elite speed, and not everybody has the speed of Nick Harbor. I'm just saying in general, wide receivers do have elite speed, or most of them, to prevent a guy from getting off. What does that do to the play? How does that throw off the timing? What are the techniques that they use? And what do wide receivers need to do to get around that?
Yeah, I mean, and that was one of the things kind of we talked last week about, some of the challenges that Nick Harbor is going to face. And one of the things I said was, getting off press coverage, getting off the line of scrimmage. Because it's something that he's probably never really had to do before. Because a lot of teams in high school probably played off because of the speed and, gave him everything underneath. But now you got, guys that are physical that can get up on the line of scrimmage and really jam you because you're not used to doing it. And it, completely throws off the play from a timing standpoint with the quarterback and the drop or quick game. Because if you're not able to get into that route, it throws everything off, whether it's some sort of combo route or, a route where you're looking to get somebody the ball quick. And so it completely really throws everything off. But I think the main thing for him is really understanding his size and utilizing his size and being physical at the line of scrimmage. A lot of times you try to use, your footwork and your hands to kind of juke off the ball. And when you do that, to try and get around a guy, you really got to get outside of his framework at some point and then get back to where you want to be. It's not just about moving your feet and shaking your shoulders and all that. It's about, moving laterally to get outside that defensive back's framework off the line of scrimmage to make him commit one way or another and then get back around. And that's a big thing. And that takes a lot, it's a lot of learned techniques that you need, and using your footwork along with your hands to keep those guys' hands from jamming you up inside inside the pads. Because once those
like
guys
what are they doing? Like what are they doing? Are they trying to grab them? They're trying to hold them? They swatting them? What are they doing?
It's a little it's grabbing. It's a little bit of grabbing, but just keeping your hand, as long as that defensive back stays in front and has their hands on you, it's really hard to get around because you're out leveraged at that point. It's just like being a lineman. As an offensive tackle, you want to keep your hands inside of that defensive lineman's, I guess, chest plate or the pads, because once that defensive lineman gets his hands inside on you, it's tough to recover from that. And it's just like playing receiver. The defensive back's going to be in front of you, and they're going to try to jam you and try to stay in front of you and mirror what you do to keep them on the line of scrimmage or keep that pass route disrupted. Let's just say you're trying to run a slant and you can't get off the ball and the defensive back's jumping it. That's an interception. So a lot of it is getting outside the framework of that defensive back to make him commit one way or another and getting back the other way, and using the footwork, using your hands to knock, as that defensive back tries to put his hands and jam you, not being able to knock those hands down to get around. And that's the one thing that, can be a huge benefit to Nick Harbor, is his size, is he can come off the ball and be physical. He may not necessarily have the technique or the quickness to get it to get those guys to commit one way or another, because it's a lot of it is natural, but it's also learned as well. You have to really focus on what you do off the ball, but being able to use that size to get physical and move those guys out of the way and then get over top. That's one thing. If he can get off the ball and teams are going to play press coverage, that's how you take the top off right there with a guy that has that kind of speed, is being able to get off the ball in press coverage if they're not going to have a whole lot of help over the top, or if it's going to be a single high safety over the top. When you got other guys that can run, like Amarian Brown, Xavier Legette, and guys like that can, and Juice Wells that can also take the top off. So it's going to be fun seeing how we utilize kind of Harbor getting down the field. But also, like you said, getting off press coverage is critical. And, you can use motions, shifts, and things like that to help him with that, and not seeing as much press type coverage. If he is struggling getting off the ball when, come week one, if there is some challenges, you can move him around the formation with motions and shifts and things like that to really help, get him out of those situations. But it does take some time. It's learned. But I think once he realizes how to be physical with the size he has, it's going to be tough.
All right, final. You got 30 seconds to answer this. The defensive backs for South Carolina, with what they're going up here against in the preseason: Juice Wells, Xavier Legette, Trey Knox. We'll wait to hear what his injury is, but it sounds minimal. Josh Simon, Marion Brown, Nick Harbor, and on and on and on. They're going up against some elite guys and some big guys, by the way, that can move. What is that doing for them to get them prepared for the season?
It's preparing them to take on some of the best in the league and some of the best receiver units and tight end units in the league. But, playing against that physicality and that speed every day just prepares you for that week one and just the grind of the season in general. Those guys have been doing it all year. I think that's where some of that confidence should come in. And O'Donnell Fortune realizing, and Marcellus Dow realizing how good those guys they go up against every day really are. And when you get into week one and you're like, man, I really am pretty good. I really do have it. When you're going up against units that are nowhere near the type of talent that you face every day in practice, it makes you better and prepares you for the best. And I think you look at Marcellus Dial and what happened last year, from where he started the season to where he finished it. A lot of teams were picking on him, and the way he performed down the stretch last year was huge, and won us some football games. You go back and look at the Clemson game, and I think that's the confidence boost that you get in going up against those guys consistently. It's kind of what you saw in Marcellus Dow that second half of the year last year, and being a JUCO guy that came in not knowing kind of what to expect and that level of talent that you face day in and day out. And I think that's what you'll see this year with those guys. And I think that's what prepared Nick Emmanwori and DQ Smith so well going into last season, was facing those guys. And that's why I think you've seen some of these freshmen that are really coming along get better a little bit quicker than what they normally would have to be prepared for week one.
Torian Gray is something special back there coaching that secondary, man. And there's a new guy that you know named Travian Robertson running the guys up front. Can't wait to see what that group looks like underneath him. We'll let you run. Go get your hair cut or whatever you're planning to do today. Get it curled. Get a perm.
Permed.
Get it permed. Yeah. We're getting close, Mike. Only about two more weeks, and then we'll have a game preview finally to discuss on the Friday before the trip to Charlotte.
It's going to be a fun one.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah,
I'll holler at you later on, brother. Wonderful stuff as always.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one. Go Cox.
There you go. Wando's World with the well-groomed Michael Flint. Or as we like to joke with him in from the movie Old School. Very handsome, very single. Let's see what else can I get. Very wealthy.
Very wealthy.
The guy's rich as you can get. He wakes up at 6 a.m, takes good care of his body. Loves wine, ladies. They don't make him better than the original 1-9. That's for sure. Oh, man.
All
right.
It's been a week, man.
Yeah. And I'm not done. I've still got about 3 more hours of work to get through, 4 more hours of work to get through here. And then my wife and I are going to go have dinner for our anniversary today. So,
oh, well, happy anniversary.
Nice little weekend planned here. Yep. Appreciate that. Happy 50th birthday weekend to our friend Craig, too, who's hanging around out there somewhere.
That's right. Notably
thanks.
absent today in the chat box. Hopefully he's having a good time.
Yeah.
No, there he is. He's in there a few times. There you go.
I guess Clint's been out of here today, too. So I guess without JC, you know, some of these guys have got to find other things to do.
It's Friday.
All right. Thanks to Michael Haney and Michael Flint and all of our wonderful guests this week. John Whittle and Pat DeMarco will lead us off on Monday. We get closer and closer and closer. There are high school football jamborees all over the Palmetto State and beyond. We hope you, if you're heading to one, enjoy those as football is inching closer at all levels. For Phil, I'm JB, live from the Sinorama Studios and built by the Barn Co. The Chief Sports Network has presented Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Make sure you download the all-new Chief Sports app, and we'll see you Monday right here.